Welcome back to Here's the Storm, 11:10 here, and today we're looking at the reworked talents of Tyrande, which are currently on the PTR and are due to be released, at least probably mostly in their current state, around May 15th. They've been changing her quite significantly, or they have changed her quite significantly, which I like. Her current status is a DPS slash support with generally poor healing capability, but a lot of utility, stuns, scouting, stealth, debuffs. She can heal, of course. But what they've done is kind of move her towards a more. They've made her auto attack more interactive with her healing and support. So we'll go over the changes they made and talk about how that's worked. So they've reduced her attack damage from 87 to 82 for start, but they compensate for that in several different ways. Looking at the skills themselves, Light of Elune still here, still have Sentinel, still have Lunar Flare, and you still have Hunter's Mark, but they have slightly different functionalities. So Light of Elune will no longer heal you when you heal an ally, and the cooldown is now reduced by 2 seconds for every basic attack you use. So I've got cooldowns turned off here just for demonstration purposes, but you can cast this quite quickly if you're in the heat of the if you're in the heart of the action and doing some DPS. The heal amount has been reduced from 320 to 270, and the basic cooldown went from 8 to 12 seconds, and the mana cost reduced to 25. It says 30 here in my tooltip. I don't know if the notes I'm reading off their site are slightly out of date or if they've changed it again, but in either case, the mana cost has been reduced. This may be the level 20 mana cost. So that's interesting because a lot of the healing that Tyrande did was, the double heal. You cast it once and you heal both yourself and an ally. And it was quite costly. I think it was 60 mana or something like that on Talented. It says 45 here, so I don't know exactly what the old cost was, but healing wasn't your primary thing as Tyrande. You can heal, but you weren't very good at it. So people who wanted to play her as primarily a healer weren't able to do so. Sentinel has been changed. It has an additional functionality now. You can have a quest, and you can see repeatable. Every 8 heroes hit by Sentinel decreases its mana cost by 10 and cause it to pierce an additional target. So if you hit 16 heroes, you've got a reduction to 50 mana, and it pierces to hit 2 more targets. That's pretty awesome. You actually have a little icon over here that shows you what your progress is on that, and that's repeatable, so you don't actually have to talent into it. It's default in the skill itself, which is awesome. That's something I'm not familiar with before too much. Shadowstalk was changed, new functionality. That's the level 10. Gain stealth and movement speed, so it doesn't heal anymore. So you gain 30% movement speed. When its stealth is broken, you gain 50% attack speed and retain its movement speed for 5 seconds. So it no longer heals, and the heal that it provided wasn't great and functioned a little oddly. People would break stealth and you wouldn't be sure whether they're getting the heal, or if you made an attack you broke stealth and the heal wouldn't always go off, and it was just a little bit weird. Starfall radius was reduced from 6 to 5. They're the main changes to the basic abilities. Most of the stuff then is changes through talents. So we look at the tiers. Tier 1, they removed Seasoned Marksman, and they have added a functionality to Ranger, which is basic attacks. Where is it? Your Ranger's Mark. Basic attacks empower Hunter's Mark. So every 60 basic attacks against enemy heroes increases the duration of Hunter's Mark by 1 second, and its default is 4 seconds. So that's pretty cool. You're going to be doing a lot of basic attacks. At least you should be. But they have to be against heroes, so you can't just sit in a lane and farm those minions. You got to be, again, like I said, in the heat of battle, right beside your tank, doing damage to the enemy heroes. Lunar Blaze as a new quest. Hit heroes to empower Lunar Flare. After hitting 10 heroes, Lunar Flare no longer costs mana, which is big. It's a 60 mana cost, and you only have 690 mana. After hitting 20 heroes, increase the range by 40%, and its standard is hitting a hero will increase its damage by 3. So, looks like there's no limit to the 3% boost. That could be potentially huge if you can. And then Ranger deals more damage based on the distance traveled. Again, it's repeatable. Hitting enemy heroes with Sentinel increases the maximum damage by 3. So Sentinel was used quite a lot to scout objectives, and it's also really handy to throw at a tribute or some other kind of objective that requires channeling, like Blackheart's Bay, but that's not really relevant at this point. So mainly the tribute. The next tier we'll show here is Pierce. So they removed it, and they removed focused attack. They removed protective shield, healing ward, searing arrows, and celestial attunement has been moved from level 1 to level 4, and it has a new functionality. So Light of Elune removes stuns, and when you remove a stun, you can then cast it again for free within 3 seconds. So that's a double heal if you remove a stun. That's pretty awesome. Again, if you're standing right behind your tank or another colleague, you'll be able to get them out of a pinch nice and quickly. Moonlit Arrows basic attacks decrease the cooldown by an additional 0.75 seconds. And Calderai Resistance grants 15 spell armor for 6 seconds. It says this effect stacks up to 4 times. With a 12-second cooldown on Light of Elune, you'd want to be getting 2, 3, 4 basic attacks in to get a stack twice, and continue to attack to get a third stack. I guess if you're healing yourself, you're going to be continually attacking your target. So if you're trying to duel like a Jaina or something, potentially this will keep you alive with the spell armor. That's tier 4. Tier 5, rather tier 7. True Shot Aura has been moved from level 16 into level 7 and adjusted its functionality. So nearby allies now have 10% increased basic attack damage, and it's passive, so obviously you don't need to worry about doing that, but you can activate it to double the bonus to 20% for 5 seconds. So that's pretty cool, a nice active ability at level 7. Darnassian Archery basic attacks grant 5% stacking increased attack damage bonus for 4 seconds. Bonus is lost when you attack a non-hero. So again, this is going to help you in duels, one-on-ones where you're just throwing arrows at each other or spells or whatever it might be. You might be able to stand up to quite some punishment, doing more damage while also healing yourself twice as much. And then Hunter's Fury, Hunter's Mark makes basic attack splash. So this would be good if you're in a heavy lane clearing map where you need to clear those minions real quick. Moving into the ultimates, we already looked at Shadowstalk and Starfall. Up on tier 13, have Empower, moved from level 1, and it now has a new function that every hero it hits reduces the cooldown of Sentinel by 4 seconds. Quickening Blessing now increases movement speed when you cast Light of Elune for 3 seconds. I think that's pretty much the same as it was, except it was moved from level 7 to level 13. And then Harsh Moonlight, Sentinel slows the target by 30%, reduces their damage by 30%, so that's actually pretty cool. Now, Harsh Moonlight is a new talent, so we wouldn't have seen that one before. Moving into tier 16, we have Overflowing Light. So Overflowing Light was moved from level 13 and new functionality, while above 60%, Light of Elune heals for 30% or more. I believe the previous incarnation was 50%, so slight change to that. Mark of Mending, similar, again, new functionality, but similar to what it was before. Your basic attacks heal you for 2% of your maximum health, and allied heroes' basic attacks against targets with Hunter's Mark will heal for 3% of their maximum health. So again, this will help you in those one-on-one duels, keeping yourself alive. And Elun's Chosen, basic attacks heal target ally. So activate to make Tyrande's basic attacks heal the target ally for 200% of the damage dealt. Lasts for 5 seconds. I'm curious what the range on that is. Have a look here. Let's just level these up.
Choose a talent.
Elun's Chosen.
Choose a talent.
That's a pretty generous target range. So that's kind of showing you how close you want to be to your tanks in general, I think. True Shot Arrow, True Shot Aura, you can tell when it's been activated. So the other one on tier 13, we looked at Overflowing Light and Mark of Mending. Moving on then to actually tier 20. So Celestial Wrath has a new functionality. Starfall applies Hunter's Mark to enemy heroes hit. Shooting Star, basic attack periodically cast Lunar Flare. So increase basic attack by range 1.1. Every 10th basic attack against a hero casts a free Lunar Flare at a random hero near your position. That could be potentially rage-inducing for your enemies. Ice Blade arrows gain increased attack speed 25%. Basic attacks against heroes reduce their damage dealt by 8% for 2 seconds. Again, this is tying in with being right beside your tank or your allies. You're increasing your attack speed, which is increasing your healing throughput by reducing your cooldowns, and also reducing the damage that your allies take. So the support functions are like, the synergies are crazy here. It's great, and it stacks up to 5 times, so that's pretty cool. So let's see if we show. Is there any animation for Ice Blades? Not sure if it looks. Yeah, I think there's a difference, but you can tell the speed. Yeah, pretty cool. Now they removed a bunch of stuff. So Hunter Swiftness was removed, Nexus Frenzy was removed, Storm Shield was removed, Rewind was removed. So that's a lot of stuff that they changed. Eyes of the Huntress I didn't look at is that Shadow Stalk will reveal all enemy heroes for 2 seconds. So I assume that that's global, not just within the range. But I don't know. So that's pretty much the changes that they've gone over. Like I said, the main focus now will be to continually do basic damage, to reduce your cooldowns, to allow you to heal more and do more damage. Reminds me of, I think, a functionality in League of Legends that Taric had, that he would, whether he would either reduce his cooldowns with his basic attacks or he'd restore mana with his basic attacks. But the synergy was that you needed to be actually in the fight, attacking, to be able to, contribute to a lot of healing and stuff. And maybe it's similar to Uther with his basic attacks. But the developer comments that they mentioned is saying that they wanted to swap the basic heal functionalities between Tyrande and Uther, and they already implemented the Uther changes. But they said the self-heal mechanic was better suited to a frontline melee healer, so they gave it to Uther instead of Tyrande. And they wanted to, instead of removing functionality, they wanted to make it Light of Elune. They wanted to make it feasible to have large cooldown reduction with every basic attack. So again, their philosophy is it will reward players that stay in combat, and it allows them to shift some of the power from healing output into more utility and offensive-based areas. So that's pretty cool. I think Tyrande will be a lot more of an interesting character to play now, because you can be a successful Tyrande by staying close to your allies, giving them that boost, but by doing attack damage to minions to keep your cooldowns low, and enemy heroes when they're available. So solo laning as Tyrande is basically a waste, which has been the case a lot of the time. But many DPS people who play her as mainly DPS will just do solo lane middle or something like that, and just heal self. So this means she really should be duoing in a lane with somebody at the very least. So again, those changes could really be reverted, but I don't think they're going to be at this point. I think they're pretty much locked in. So I think that she's going to be a much more interesting hero to play. I think some of the combinations that you can have with the talents, like a free Lunar Flare every so often, the double heal for nothing, if you pick the remove stuns, spell armor interaction, basic just like the cooldown reductions. You might find that maybe mana is a problem, but again, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work until we play some games with her. 30 mana isn't that much, and a regen globe is going to help you with that. 70 mana for Sentinel, 60 mana for Luna Flare. If you've talented in, it'll be free. So she's not that mana heavy. I'm interested to see how it works out. Probably take a couple of weeks for the meta to switch, and yeah, I'm excited to try her. So give her a go on the PTR. Check out the patch notes. I'll link them in the description for you guys. There are a couple of other changes. Like I said earlier, notably Dahaka and Alarak were also reworked quite significantly. I don't play either of those characters, so I can't really talk much about what the changes will really do for people who play those characters. So check out the patch notes and have a read of them yourself. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the Nexus.